I'm 79 years old, and Psalm 23 is not a comfort psalm. That is the first thing you need to understand. Everything you think you know about these 6 verses has been softened, polished, and placed inside a greeting card. But the original Hebrew carries something far more raw, far more urgent, and far more powerful than anything that fits on a sympathy card. And once you see what's really inside this ancient poem, you cannot unsee it. Most people know the opening line: "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." They hear it at funerals, they see it on plaques, they treat it like a gentle lullaby. But the word translated as shepherd in Hebrew is roe. And in the ancient Near East, a shepherd was not a gentle figure in a white robe. A shepherd was a fighter. A shepherd carried a staff to beat predators. A shepherd knew every inch of dangerous terrain. A shepherd slept on the ground between the flock and whatever was trying to get in. When David wrote this psalm, he had been a shepherd himself. He had killed a lion. He had killed a bear. He was writing from experience, not from metaphor. He was saying, the one guiding my life is that kind of ferocious protector. And here's what most people miss about "I shall not want." The Hebrew is lo exor, which translates more precisely as "I will lack nothing." Not "I will feel content," not "I will be at peace with having less." It is a declaration of complete sufficiency. David is making a bold claim that under this kind of fierce, attentive leadership, nothing essential will be missing. That is not a passive statement. That is a statement of absolute confidence in provision, but it goes even deeper than that. The psalm moves immediately into specific terrain. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Sheep do not lie down unless they feel safe. That is a biological fact. Sheep are prey animals. They will not rest if they sense danger. They will not lie down if they are hungry. They will not relax if there is tension within the flock. For a sheep to lie down in a pasture means every threat has been addressed. The shepherd has done the work. The peace is not accidental. It is the result of extraordinary vigilance and care. So when David says he is made to lie down, he is saying that every source of anxiety in his life has been attended to by something greater than himself. He leads me beside still waters. In Hebrew, this is me menusho, the waters of rest, or the waters of quietness. Wild, rushing water terrifies sheep. They will not drink from a fast-moving stream. They will die of thirst before they approach turbulent water. A good shepherd either finds still pools or dams a stream himself, creating a calm place where the sheep can drink without fear. And David is saying that in his own life, the paths he has been led to, the places where he has received nourishment and restoration, have not been accidental locations. They have been carefully chosen, carefully prepared for him. The quiet was engineered, and if you have ever experienced an unexpected season of peace in the middle of a chaotic life, you now know what that means. He restores my soul. In Hebrew, nafshi, which means his total inner self, his life force, his deepest being. And the word for restores, yeshuvev, carries the idea of bringing something back from the edge, turning it around, recovering what was lost. This is not a mild refreshment. This is resurrection language. David knew what it felt like to be completely depleted, to be at the very bottom, to feel as though the essential part of him had been drained away. And he is testifying that something brought it back. Not incrementally, not partially, fully. The soul that was lost was found again. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Here the word righteousness in Hebrew is tzedek, which means right paths, correct paths, straight paths, not morally superior paths, efficient paths, paths that go where they are supposed to go. A shepherd leads a flock along paths that actually lead somewhere good, not paths that look appealing but end in a ravine. And then, for his name's sake, this phrase is critical. The shepherd's own reputation is tied to the well-being of the flock. A shepherd whose sheep are constantly lost, constantly injured, constantly starving, is a shepherd with no credibility. David is saying that the one leading him has a vested interest in his arrival. The guide cannot afford to lose him. That changes everything about how you understand the protection being offered. And then we arrive at the valley. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The Hebrew here is Gate Zalmavet. Gay means a ravine or deep gorge. Zalmavet means deep darkness or death shadow. This is not a metaphor that ancient readers needed explained. There were literal valleys in the landscape of ancient Israel that shepherds called by names meaning deep darkness. because they were so narrow and steep that light barely reached the bottom, and predators hid in the rocks above. Shepherds had to lead their flocks through these places to reach the good pastures on the other side. There was no detour. There was no going around. You went through. And here's what David says in that valley. He does not say he is not afraid. He says, I will fear no evil. Future tense, intention, commitment. He is choosing in the face of real darkness, in the face of genuine danger, to redirect his fear. And the reason is not that the danger has disappeared. It is that the shepherd is there. For thou art with me. The presence changes everything, not the removal of the threat. The presence within the threat. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The rod is a short, weighted club that shepherds use to beat off predators. The staff is the long crook used to guide and rescue sheep from crevices. What David finds comforting is not a soft voice. What comforts him is evidence of weaponry. He is comforted by the fact that his shepherd is armed. This is not a sentimental comfort. This is a warrior's comfort. The comfort of knowing that something powerful is fighting for you. But it goes even deeper than that, because suddenly the imagery shifts. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. We have moved from open pasture and dark valley to a formal table. Scholars have noted this shift for centuries. And the real power is in what this image communicates culturally. In the ancient Near East, to be seated at a table, to be hosted by someone, meant that you were under their complete protection for the duration of that meal. To eat at someone's table was a covenant act. Your host was obligated to defend you. And David says, this table is prepared, not after the enemies are gone, not when the threat has passed, but in front of them. The meal happens while the enemies watch. The feast occurs in the middle of the siege. The provision comes in the presence of the very thing trying to destroy you. Thou anointest my head with oil. In pastoral practice, at the end of a long day of grazing, shepherds would inspect each sheep and treat any wounds, any fly bites, any infections, any damage from the day's journey. The oil was medicinal and protective. And this anointing happens at the end of a hard day, not a comfortable one. The oil is applied because there was struggle, and the tenderness of the anointing is proportional to the difficulty of what was endured. My cup runneth over. The Hebrew is kosi revaya. My cup is saturated, soaked, overflowing, not just full, past full, abundance that exceeds the container. This is not modest blessing. This is excess, overflow, more than enough. And this from a man who began the psalm in a valley of deep darkness. The movement of this psalm is not from comfort to comfort. It is from danger to provision, from shadow to overflow. The abundance at the end means something because of the valley that preceded it. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. The word follow in Hebrew is radef, and radef does not mean gently accompany. Radef means to pursue, to chase, the same word used when enemies chase you. David is saying that goodness and mercy are in hot pursuit of him. They are after him. They are relentless. They will not stop until they catch him. And not just on the good days, all the days of his life. The difficult days, the valley days. The days when it does not feel like anything is following him except trouble. Even on those days, the pursuit is happening. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Hebrew word for forever here is leoreh yamim, which means for length of days, for the long days ahead. This is not primarily about afterlife. This is a declaration of permanent belonging. David is saying, I'm not a visitor. I'm not passing through. I've taken a precedence. I belong here. This is where I am from now on. And here is the practical power of all of this. People carry this psalm through the worst moments of their lives because it was written by someone who had lived those moments, not someone describing darkness from a distance, someone writing from inside it. The reason these 6 verses have carried millions through grief, through war, through illness, through loss, is that they do not pretend the valley is not real. They do not promise the enemies will disappear. They do not say the road will be easy or the waters will be calm from now on. What the psalm promises is presence. What it promises is sufficiency. What it promises is that the pursuing love is faster than the pursuing darkness. And if you read it the way it was written, as a warrior's testimony, not a greeting card, it becomes not just comforting, but fortifying. You do not read this psalm to feel better. You read this psalm to remember who is in the valley with you. And that, for 79 years, is what I have found to be the truest thing in it. And I want you to sit with that for a moment. Because the modern world does not offer you presents. The modern world offers you solutions. It offers you strategies and systems and optimized approaches to difficulty. It tells you that if you do the right things, the valley will be shorter. If you think correctly, the enemies will retreat. If you apply the proper method, the cup will fill faster. But Psalm 23 does not offer any of that. It offers something older, and in my experience, something far more reliable. It offers a shepherd who has already been in every terrain you're about to enter, who knows which paths lead out, who carries both the weapon and the healing oil, who sets a table not when things calm down, but right now, in the middle of everything, who has made a commitment, one tied to reputation and covenant and something that goes beyond what any person can fully explain, to see you through. The millions who have held on to these words in their hardest hours were not holding on to optimism. They were not holding on to wishful thinking. They were holding on to testimony. The testimony of a shepherd king who had survived long enough to write it down, who had been in the valley himself and had come out the other side with a full cup and an unshakable belief in the pursuit. What you do with that is yours to decide. But the words are exactly as old as the darkness they were written about, and they have outlasted every single thing that tried to make them irrelevant.